All right, guys. So here is the new RE Sentinel inspired advanced kit. Um, I've tried to make everything. Probably the only thing on here that doesn't actually like function is the safety switch. The breakdown works in a different manner. Instead of you twisting it and pulling the whole peg out, I actually just put a set screw in here for you to screw and unscrew, just for longevity and rigidity and stuff. Mag release works. It's positive connection. Works just perfectly fine. Hammer, nice action. Slide, works great. Slide lock, whole thing. So yeah, I'm actually really, man, this and the RoboCop and some of the other ones is just, I love making everything function on these the way they're supposed to. But I hope y'all enjoy it. But let's get into the assembly of it. So this here is the little part sheet that you'll find on the website under the assembly diagrams page, under the folder for this kit. It gives you a rundown of the hardware that is in the bag. The springs, this will be one of the first ones that I actually use, the new slide springs that I now have started stocking. Very expensive slide springs, but as far as since I'm going to start making a lot more of these kits with the slides at work and stuff, it's necessary. But here's how the kit comes right here. Let's get all this out here. There is our mag. Move this over out of the way. This is our grip, and our frame, and our slide. Now, some of y'all may cuss me a little bit on this one, but some of the stuff's a little pain in the butt to get put together. But I've done it 3 or 4 times to find the best way to, because this one actually also has some newer springs as well. And first, let me get this over here out of the way. But this is our the receiver. It's set up, you know, that for all the functioning stuff, the mag release and all that good stuff. And our extended mag. This is our grip surround, which I absolutely hated doing this grip surround. This was such a pain in the butt to model, but that's a whole nother story, a whole nother day. Anyways, so like for those of you that have bought my other models, the majority of the models all use the spring like this for most of the functions and stuff. Well, these are now the new slide springs that I'm stocking, and like I said, they're fairly expensive even when you buy them 500 to 1,000 of them at a time. Way too expensive. There's some smaller springs in here as well, which I'll go ahead and show you real quick. So just also note that if you're like, I'm missing a small spring, like see down inside of there, they're kind of stuck together. If I can, so that's some of the new small springs, and there'll be 2 of those in there. This one is totally entrapped inside of here. Come on. So what we have 2 of the normal size springs, 2 of the small ones, and 1 of the big new slide springs. I'm going to lay these off to the side over here. Let them all get stuck back together. And then the rest of it is just a bunch of set screws. And just for the ones of y'all that'll ask me, these are not screws with their heads missing. It's on purpose. Called a set screw. If you notice, an Allen wrench fits down inside there, and that's how you tighten them. Let's see. Let me find the correct size here, and I'll show you. That is not the correct size. So anyways, I have like this little set of bits, but most of y'all will have like the L-shaped Allen wrenches and stuff, but there you go. And I just use a little driver, and that's how we put them in. So okay, let's get this off to the side. We'll go over this. There's our barrel. This is the barrel slide spring that the actual spring rides on. It's our orange tip. A little muzzle brake. Let me just dump all this out in a pile. It's quicker to go over it this way. Okay, so this is our hammer, our trigger. And on this kit, the hammer and spring and stuff works exactly like a real one does. Because I got to looking, and there was not really a better way for me to design it for the same function other than just do it just like the real one. That's the rear sight, the breakdown lever. This will be our safety. This little piece here, it gets glued on. There's a slot right back here. It'll get glued into. Oops, sorry about that. It'll get glued in like that, and that just represents our safety as a secondary, like as a separate piece instead of it all being modeled and molded together. These are our pieces for our hammer. This will be the hammer strut and the hammer spring little pocket and stuff. This is our linkage that will go from the trigger back, and this is what releases our hammer. So it gets pulled forward and hammer will slap forward. I'll show you that as we put it together. This is our mag release, and we'll go over that too. These two pieces, get these little boogies off of here. These two pieces right here, these are going to be our slide lock, the lever that you push up to lock. And what will happen is these two pieces, if you notice, there's a little notch there and a notch there, or that little tab there. All of this will get glued together just like that, and it'll be glued in a 90 degree. But we'll go over that when we get to that point, because you don't want to glue it backwards because it won't work. It's got to be a specific way. So, and here's our front sight. Go ahead and put all that over there all the way. Let me get my glue, and it's probably dried shut because I think there's a hole in my in the lid now. So let me unstuck it. And for those wonder, you can use regular like thick super glue, model glue. I don't like model glue because it takes too long to set up and it's just kind of gummy. Thick super glue works great, but any of y'all that use super glue, you know that your work time with super glue is limited, so it pretty much starts setting instantly. I use what's called CA glue. There's many different brands out there. This is just a brand that I've been using for the past 2 years and had really good luck with it. I haven't received any bad batches or anything. Not endorsing it, just saying this is what I use. But yeah, CA glue, it's a two-part basically super glue. You got the glue, you put it on. It will go ahead and finally activate and set over time. But this is the activator. When you spray it, it instantly starts setting. So you work with it for parts and things for a minute, get it where you want it, and then spray it and set it. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just put like our sights, our front and rear sights on here. And just because these are little just things to get these out of the way. The rear sight, it's got a notch that matches back here. And you know, you're going to glue it in to where it sets down in that notch. It'll set there in that orientation with the taller part to the back. And So basically what I do, since this doesn't require sliding it in, put a glob of glue, which was probably way too much. I'm trying to watch the monitor to see if you guys can see and do this at the same time. So see, I've put that where I want it, kind of made sure it's centered, everything's good to go, and spray it. And since it's kind of covered up a bit, it take a second for it to get in there, but there you go. So it's all set. We're going to repeat the same thing with the front. If you notice on the front sight, there's a dot, there's like a hole right there. That hole goes towards the back. That hole would be the hole that you would paint white, along with the two triangles back here to represent the sight dots. So we'll just put us a little bitty drop right here. Get this sprayed on here. And I will spray the opposite part sometimes when I'm putting them together like this. And actually, I don't think I sprayed hardly anything on there, so let me spray it again. In the front sight, you have to slide it in from the side because it's a dovetail notch. So you just put it to the side and it'll slide in. So make sure it's centered before you set your glue or whatever, because you can get it off centered. So there's the sight. Let me make sure I don't have any boogies down in here anywhere, which I do. There's a little boogie there. And one of the things that you'll want to check, and I try, you know, when I clean all these parts up, I try to make sure that I get all the little pieces off and everything cleaned up for you guys. So, you know, there's nothing really in your way other than some minor cleanup. But I do miss some things, but also the way this is, it's kind of like the RoboCop. The way this prints is this whole frame prints on these 4 tabs. So upside down like that. And so I go through and I clean these rails as well as I can. And I normally always test this to make sure that we're sliding like with no catching at all. So like it's very loose. If you happen to slide yours on there and there's some binding or whatever, like because there's plenty of slack in here for like in case you get paint and stuff like that. But if you slide it on and it starts to get hard, like right as it gets to the back there or when it gets to here, the only thing that's going to be in getting in your way, and well, shit, I didn't bring my, well, never mind. Anyways, I'll explain to you anyways. What I do is like, it's just the top edge, like 45 degree right there. And most of the time you'll come back here to this corner or this corner and just take some off there, same there, because what'll happen is when it prints down, sometimes it'll flare out those edges a bit and it will cause it to drag in there. And I saved this one specifically to show you guys, sometimes there'll be some feathering in here that'll be kind of in the way. But like I said, most of the time I make sure that it's at least like this, nice and smooth. It's not to say that I don't get interrupted in the hours of cleaning kits all day and stuff gets set aside. I'm a human and I screw up and make mistakes. So not everything's always, you know, good to go and perfect. So, so there's the slide. It's good. It's ready to go. All right. Let's see. Next thing we can do is let's go ahead and put the hammer in. It's actually pretty cool. So what we're going to need is the slide. We're going to need the hammer. And we're going to need, there are two 16 millimeter set screws, a 12 millimeter, and then a 440, is it a 440 3/4? Yeah, 440 3/4 set screw. The 440 3/4 is what goes up here. So the 12 and the 2/16s all use a 1.5 millimeter Allen. The 440 3/4, for the life of me, my brain just went blank. I can't think of the size, but there's a metric that fits it just fine. So if you have a metric set that fits this, you'll also have a metric one in there that fits that. But what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these 16 millimeter set screws and go back over here and grab the correct driver. And what I always do is I just start it in the hole. You notice there's not a hole over here. Is I start the thread, because these cut threads as they go, it's very easy to do, is I make sure that it's 90 degree to the body that way, and then I'll look this way and make sure that's 90 degree this way. So as I screw it in, I just kind of look for a second. Yeah, it's good to go. Then I screw it until you'll see it start poking through. I'm trying, gosh dang it, I'm trying to get the light to where you guys can see. It's so hard to do. I've got to move this monitor, this over there. Anyways, it poking through. So then I'll back it up just a bit, get my hammer, make sure that I'm putting the hammer in the correct way. The tab goes backwards, okay? So put that in there. It's a little bit of find the hole. Tighten a bit if you feel it tighten down on it. Like I try to line that up and then slide down in there. And there it goes. So go ahead now, we're going to tighten this in. And it'll go in and it'll get a little bit tighter at the end, and it'll kind of bottom out. But even if it does, like I don't even go till it bottoms out, I just go till it clears that hole. So now this is what we have. Floppy, okay? So what we need now, let me get this out of the way. We just need these two pieces, okay? So, and one of these springs. Basically what we're doing is we're going to slide this spring up on this strut. And when we put this in the kit here, this is how it's going to look and how it's going to act, okay? On the back of the frame here, you'll notice it's got a little pocket. Now this dude sits right there like that. This does not get glued in. It doesn't need to be glued in. There's the pockets, the way it sets. This also allows you to take it back apart if you want to. So what you need to do is just, what I do is I just try to hold the hammer straight up. There's a hole back here. Just rock it in there. It doesn't matter if that's in the correct place or not. It's hard to do with me talking and trying to show you guys there. So anyways, that's the way you want it to be. Now, if the hammer's going back, it's in the wrong place, pull this up, and you notice that this rod, how far it is from the back. If you just grab the rod, hold the hammer, and set the rod right there, what happens is now it's setting inside the cam like it's supposed to. So it's what it is this strut rides in a cam, and as the hammer goes down, it presses the hammer strut rod. Works perfect. Because in general, this is where it sets. It's very good positive feedback on and action, I should say. Okay, so now we can do the really fun part. Let me get some of this boogers out of here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and glue together our slide release. So what we need this to do is we need it to be shaped just like this. Okay? Because if you put it this way, that's going to be incorrect. So pay attention to this right here. Right there. So if you have this, it's going to be like this. And I'll show you before we glue it where this goes. Right down inside here, there's a little channel, okay? This sets right down in there, just like that. And what this lever does is this lever glues on and it hangs over the side to the outside of the frame. So if you just look at it, it's got a shape in it just like the magwell part of the frame does. So that's why we want to glue it that way specifically. So just pay attention to that, and this is the way we're going. So what I'm going to do is put a glob. And on this, you don't have to be super particular about not getting too much glue, because we're wanting to make sure that we got a really good connection here. And when I glue it, I just pop that down in that little groove and make sure that this top part right here is 90 degrees to this part. So 90 there. That's what we're worried about. This doesn't matter. It's 90 for this to that. And once that sets up, I'm going to go back, and I'm even going to put like a little bitty bit of, that did no good, what I just did. And put a little bit of glue on the back side of that. Because just in general, I want to make sure that I have a really, really, really good connection here. And in all my testings, I've had no issues or failings of this, because in reality, there's next to no pressure. Where the pressure is on this is the slide will be pushing against it that way. So when you raise this up to go inside this notch and it catches on the slide, that's the pressure's that way. And I've had no issues with it at all. Also, make sure if your slide catch isn't setting in the slide nice and tight, just make sure that this is nice and flat right there, and there's not like a little boogie like that one was. All right, so this is the part where you guys will you're going to cuss me a bit, and trust me, 10,000 different tries of making this differently. But once you do it a couple of times, which, you know, you don't want to unless you take this apart, which the good part is you can take 90% of this back apart if you want to, is this spring's going to be a pain in the butt. And I'll show you why. Okay, so we have this slot, and I'm trying to look over my shoulder and show you guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this with the spring and everything, and I'm going to set it down in here, and then I'm going to give you guys a better look at what I've got here. Okay, so y'all see it's down in that slot, and the spring is being pinched. The spring has to go up under that ledge right there. Okay, I found this is the easiest way to put it in here, just like this, and it'll take a little bit of fighting, and it's definitely going to take some fighting because I'm doing it, trying to watch it and make sure you guys can see it. But just push down on it, and I mean, some of y'all might take you a flat blade screwdriver or something, but you don't have to be overly aggressive with it. You just have to hold your tone just right. It's all about the tone placement. All right, look, I can't. Hang on. Let me move down here so I can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to watch what I'm doing through a monitor, and it's a total different perspective. Get in there. All right, hold on. Get back to my normal grip. I'm telling you, you guys will cuss me on this one. But it's so well worth it once you get it in there. Bam. Boom. There it is. You see? Come on, focus, damn it. That's what we want. That's what it's doing, because this is gonna rotate on the same set screw that the hammer does, or that the trigger does. So what I'm gonna do is let me find the bit that fits the 440 3/4 set screw. Now this is the longest set screw, and I'm gonna take it. And the thing is about this, and this is the reason I did this, and actually let me just take that out, because there's no, I've made this set screw to where it'll push all the way through the body, through the trigger, and then it screws into the backside. And I did that for ease, because we're not done with the part yet. We only did half of what you're going to cuss me for. So we're going to lay this down to the side somewhere so it doesn't get knocked out and have to reset that. We're going to take the shortest set screw, okay? And it's going to get screwed into this top hole right here. And let me find, wait a minute, I think it's back to this one again. I think, excuse me. We're going to screw that in, make sure it's going in straight. And then we're just going to screw. Now this is very important where you have the correct size driver, because you don't want to mess around with these set screws and just find one that kind of fits, because you'll mess it up. Basically what we just did there was we put in the pivot point for the hammer release. So you just want to make sure that it's in far enough to where it's kind of flush or in just a bit. This, it's not too terribly bad to put in. I kind of put it in like this, but before I do, I'm going to show you. In the back here, there's a slot where that goes, okay? So what I do, and the trigger has to go in at an angle as well. So I kind of just do this in like a pyramid. I will take this, and I'm not going to put the spring in yet because you're going to cuss me, like I said. But you will put, you hold this, you'll put the back in there. You'll drop the trigger down to where it's starting to come through the trigger guard, okay? All while not bumping that out. And you're just going to drop it down in there. And you'll get it down there where you want it, and you'll take the set screw, and the set screw will literally push. When you get the trigger lined up where it goes, it'll push all the way through, and then you'll tighten it in there. And if you notice, when you do this, it pulls that forward. That's all great and dandy and fine and stuff. Now here's the part where you're really going to cuss me. Now you got to do all that. Bring it back up at a triangle. Take it back out. Down here's a hole. You're going to not knock that other piece out. You're going to put that down in the hole, and you're going to bend that spring up. You're going to put the back end of that in there. So now this is the way we have it. Everything's kind of rotated and twisted. And you're going to take all that there. I got the trigger coming through. I got that setting back down into that pocket there. And this is just kind of where we take this and we just push down, and it just falls right into place. And I made that look easy because I've only done this like 10 times so that I can make it look easy. So there, I pushed it in. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to tighten. I'm not going to tighten that with that driver because it's the wrong driver. We're going to tighten this. Bam. So now what we have is it is pulling that forward. Now I'm putting my finger here because the hammer needs to stop, but when you pull back, it is very good. Here, matter of fact, let me just slide this on, I'll show you. So the hammer gets cocked back. Very good positive action. Good strength on that, good strength on that. Our side lever is locked in. It's not going to go nowhere. So if you see now that raises up like it should. And what that does is, before I put this spring in there, I'll show you. We're going to go forward. We're going to go back to there. And when you let go, see it sits there and you'll shoot forward. So this is all together. Before we put the slide on and all the other stuff, we're going to go ahead, and this is the mag release. You need the other spring. You want to make sure it goes into the back of the mag release good. If it kind of drags, just, take something and clean in the hole a bit. That's another thing that I try to, clean up, because again, it prints down like that. But make sure it goes in there pretty freely. But before I put that in there, any of y'all that built the brain RoboCop, sometimes when you put these down in the frame, you'll put them in there and they kind of drag a bit. And if you pop that all the way down in there and just work it back and forth, and sometimes you'll pop it down in there and it'll be pretty tough. You can take a screwdriver and push back up from the back side. Wait a minute, get on it. See, so that you can work it. And the reason we have to do this sometimes is, again, this is printed in this orientation. Print, 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 print. This is printed in this orientation going up. So when you put them together, you have print dimensions and lines that were printed in two different directions. I've put in a lot of gap and spacing for clearance, but sometimes there's little boogies and hair, and if you put that down in there and just work it back and forth, the ultimate goal is you should be able to just take your spring, take this, set it down in that pocket. Well, hold your mouth right. And that's all the movement it has to do right there. That's it. It doesn't come out any further than that. And when we put the grip on, the grip holds this where it's supposed to be. And that's it. That's the mag release. So we're going to take that out for now that we have that cleaned, because again, this will fall out until you put your grip on. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put the barrel in the slide. And this is the part that kind of assembles just like a real one does, is you have the barrel and then you have this barrel pin, this spring pin. Now, just so you know, you'll pull the barrel up and just lean it off to the side. But also, if you try to put it in like this, you're going to be fighting that spring the whole time. Just pull that spring back until it's like that. And what we're shooting for is go into this bottom hole. And it'll just go in just like that. Drop the barrel back down, and that's it. It sits in there just against that, and that's literally all there is to it. It sits right there, just like the real gun does. That's how a real one spring is. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and now all we have to do is slide it on, turn it over, and there's a hole right here. And normally on a real one, this breakdown lever, you would pop it down like it would have a peg on it. It would go all the way through the body and through the barrel and lock it, and it would be locked in there. I didn't do that because I wanted y'all to be able to break it back down if you wanted to and not have any issue. So what we're going to do is the last 16mm set screw, we take it, make sure it's straight that way, make sure it's straight that way. And we're just going to run this in. And again, if y'all want to break this down, you just take this out, pull the barrel off, take everything apart. The only thing about this one is if you break it down, once we put the muzzle brake into the barrel, you won't be able to take the barrel back out of the slide. You can take the slide spring and all that out, but you won't be able to because of this is on there. So here's our slide. So I try not to like hit that because it'll bump it out of the pocket. Work it some. So then there we go. I love that. The action is so positive on that. We'll go ahead and glue this on real quick. It's notched. It'll only go in there one way. And we just want it nice and level with the body is what we want to do here. So, matter of fact, I'll just put a little bit of glue around the hole if it hadn't dried shut. There we go, it hadn't. Yay. Okay, and then I'm going to spray the back side of my part. I'm going to take my part and drop it right down in the hole. I'm going to let it set for a second. And there we go. All nice and done. And also just to cover with you guys, like all the stuff that you can't see in the frame, you don't need to really bother to paint. Now you'll see some of the frame, like when you cock this back, you'll see down in the magwell area, well, you'll have already painted like the barrel and stuff like that. So, I mean, just dry slide your stuff together and see where you don't really need to paint, and where you don't, like on the inside, you don't need to paint, I wouldn't paint. But I mean, look, like you've got wiggle there, and I've left that specifically for, you know, if you get, like you paint in the rail and stuff like that. Like if you're going to paint your rail black, like this black, I would paint the whole thing and even come in here and I would just blacken all this with like a paint pen. Or, and the reason I'm saying that is some of us are really good at spray painting and knowing when add a little, add a little, add a little, and some of us are, there we go, it's nice and thick and solid, and now it's too thick for anything to fit. So the reason I'm saying that is for those of you that don't have, that have some control issue and you're impatient, you can blacken areas like with even a black marker and stuff, black paint marker or something, so that you don't get too much in there. But those of us that do have control and you do a light coat, and that's the thing about spray painting, every coat does not have to be a solid coat where you instantly, like if I was to paint this, I'd prime it, do a little sanding on it, prime it, do a little sanding on it, like with filler primer, that stuff sands so smooth and beautiful. But I would be on my third coat of black before it even got solid enough to where I wouldn't see gray anymore. Because you're doing that, building up the paint and getting it to a nice, even, solid finish with as little paint as you can. And the more you put on each coat, like the thicker each coat is, of course, the more it's built up and you're adding to the dimension. So just keep that in mind. What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and glue the safety on now. And like I said, there's a little notch back there that goes in. So this is a little square notch. Put a little glue, probably a little too much. I'm going to spray the front side of my part because it goes in just like that. Nice and smooth right there. Okay. Now what we want to do also is on this top edge, this is the top edge of where the mag release is at. If there's any little boogies, again, I try my best to clean that, but we just want to make sure it's square, nice and pretty, and all that good stuff. And any other little, because now this will be the last place that y'all cuss me. Well, no, probably not. A lot of y'all probably cuss me all the time, but that's a whole nother story. This is a very tight fitting. For whatever reason, they decided not to have screws that hold the grip on this replica for some reason, and it's a squeeze fit. So it's a tight squeeze, and you can get it back off. But basically what we want to do is it's got to slide on just like this. And you'll feel like it'll kind of hit, but if you push, it'll start going on, and this is where you want to stop, because you need to go ahead and put your mag release in the hole and push down. Get it in the hole and push down. And of course, you'll kind of just have to push the bottom in, working with the alignment, and all of a sudden you'll get to a spot and it'll pop. See, it's popped on there, and it is a tight fit. So we're going to work our mag release. Works good. So let's see. I've got, let me get a flat blade. There's little boogies down in my frame. See the boogies down the wall right there? awesome. There we go. See, nice and tight. And then, so that works. We've got slide lock. So let's go ahead and we'll get our muzzle brake glued on. And I mean, it's just, this is the most simple part. It just, you put some glue here and stick it in the barrel. Try not to get glue outside the barrel, like where it's going to get on the slide. So don't put an ungodly amount, and kind of twist it as you go in so it'll bring glue with it. And then just let that set. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, clean all our stuff up. And then, of course, you have your orange tip, which will need to go on there. And that's all I'm saying about that. But so there we go. I love this gun. So there's the Sentinel 9 inspired gun kit. You know, everything on here turned out very like positive. I love and those slide springs, the new slide springs work so great. So there you go. There's the new Sentinel 9 replica. I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, just comment down below or go to the website, go to the contact page, send me a message. You know, I'll be the first to admit I miss some messages. So if you send me a message and I don't respond, you know, send me another message. I'm a one-man show, other than my son helping me put together some kits and stuff. So I do get overwhelmed sometimes with messages. And if I miss anything or don't respond, I apologize. It's not because I don't want to. It's just, man. Anyways, y'all have a good one. Okay, guys, real quick. I forgot to actually include and cover the grip logo stickers. So I just had to add this onto the end here. Each kit will come with 2 cards of these, and these are stickers. You have to cut around the sticker. I cut these off camera real quick just because nobody wants to see my shaky hands trying to cut these. But you'll come with 2 cards. That way, if you mess one up, you know, it's no big deal. Some of my older models have currently slide decals, but when those run out, they will be turned to stickers as well. So don't have to deal with the slide decal anymore. But basically, in a nutshell, all you have to do is just cut around the outside edge and stay as close as you can. Sorry about that. Stay as close as you can to that outside edge, leaving the white on there. And then I was about to say it's as simple as, and I'm going to choose not to say that real quick, this is why I didn't say it. There we go. Is peel it off, and the decal it doesn't go with the angle of the grip. It goes like if the pistol's setting this way, we want to do 90 degree to the barrel. And just what we're going to do is set it down inside the hole. And before we press it, yeah, that looks good. Just don't use your nail or anything like that. Press it in there and get it set. And then if you need to, you can go back later and use like a razor blade around the edge. But even that doesn't need it. It went in perfect. And the thing is once you get it in there and it's where you want it, when you clear coat, like after you've painted and got your paint job the way you want, you're going to clear coat anyways to protect that paint job. Put these on and clear coat over this. Clear coat over everything, the logo and all that stuff, and it will be there permanently. And as long as there's clear coat covering it, you don't have to worry about it rubbing anything off or any of that. And I already, when these get printed, I already go back and I treat the top of this with a flat enamel clear coat with a light coat on there, just to help protect the logo while you're handling it and putting it on. And then go back and clear coat it, and you'll be good to go. There you go. Thank you.